All right, let's go through to Mlungisi in Nkandla. Mlungisi, what's happening where you are? Mlungisi, are you ready for us?
Former President Jacob Zuma. Yes, I'm ready.
All right, Mlungisi is in Nkandla, and I think he's following former President Jacob Zuma. Can you give us the latest there, Mlungisi?
Okay, like you mentioned earlier on, Desiree, that I am in Nkandla, the home of the former President Jacob Zuma. Where I am currently, I am at Ntolwane Primary School, where the former president will be casting his vote today. Now, let me just give you a brief historical overview about this place. It has a lot of young people, and it also has a lot of older people. Now, yesterday, we had an opportunity to interact to some of the young people in the area. Basically what they said there is an urban migration in this area, as they feel that they do not have enough job opportunities, and as a result they are now making their way into the city area. One of the key aspects, or one of their key complaints, was that there are not enough jobs in the area, and this place is not as advanced as other urban areas in the city. Now, you also recall when former President Jacob Zuma came into power, he did ensure that the area of Nkandla will be developed and that young people will be given opportunities. But like I mentioned earlier on, that at around 10 o'clock, the former president will be making his way over here at Ntolwane Primary School, where he'll be casting his vote. Currently, it's relatively quiet, but we've just seen a lot of elderly people making their way to also cast their votes. We had an opportunity to speak to some of the IEC officials and ask them about the voting demographics of this area. Basically, what surprisingly enough, in this rural community are actually coming out in their numbers and actually voting, which is very rare for the youth who are actually in the rural community. And also, this area is an area which is vastly rural. It is an area that is currently run by the IFP currently. And you also understand that historically, according to history, this is the place of Nkosi Skananda. Now, if you know history, you recall that Nkosi Skananda is a person who was said to have defeated some of the colonial imperialists in the very, very olden days. And as a result of that, he then made his way to Nkandla forest, where he hid for the rest of his life, because after he defeated some of the imperialists, he was then sought after and he was wanted. But anyway, enough about that. Let me also pose a few questions to a local leader and ask him about the nitty-gritties of today's program. Thank you very much for your cards. Iskatsako Ngubane. We understand that young people have also been coming out here in their numbers. As a community leader, have you been able to achieve your objective of getting them to vote?
Yes, rather, please call me Beng instead of Ngubane. Yes, thank you very much for your time. People have been coming in here, as you can see that they are currently coming, and we are still expecting more people to come here. As you might know that the former president is still going to come and make his mark on the ballot today. Other people are used to wait for him to come, so that they are going to do it with him, so that they are going to show the support they have with him. And the young people, as we have asked, young people are doing their mark and they are coming in numbers, and it is as seen as if they are some of them they are voting for the first time, which makes us proud that people are going to make their mark and put the mark on the rebuilding of the country, as we want to build the country.
We understand that Nkandla is a relatively rural community. Have you been able to see developments in the last 25 years of our democracy?
A lot of development we have seen. We have seen a lot of development here. We've got electricity, we've got water, we've got a tarred road, which has not been the case after that times or before 1994. There were no schools. We know that even here you can see that we are in the school where it is called a North School, which is all post 1994. We see a lot of development. All Ugoko, as you can see, all people are coming here because they know that Jacob Zuma came into power to bring them impatient, and they want to see him being the leader. And as you might see and or hear, some of them, they are coming in here saying, yeah, we are here for Zuma, but knowing that ANC has been there or the current government is assisting people in terms of development. We can see that we can boldly say that development is in.
Ngubane, there's been a far outcry, in particular amongst young people. They're saying that they do not see institutions of higher learning in the area, and as a result of that, they are now migrating into urban areas. Is that the case?
It has been the case, but now in Nkandla, we have got our first TVET college, which has been built in, if I'm not mistaken, it was just 3 years ago, and it is currently registering people as I'm talking to you now. We've got, for the first time in Nkandla, knowing that there is a college, because we used to hear people calling old people telling us that, hey, our children are now finishing matrics and they are going to go to other areas like Durban and Mpangeni, where we will not be able to look after them. But now they are coming into Nkandla to do to further their studies. It is the nearest place that we can say.
Thank you very much. That is Pengu, a community leader over here. Now, I mentioned earlier on that he's been rallying old people and young people to come out today in their numbers to cast their votes, as it is their democratic rights. Now, I mentioned earlier on, Desiree, that the former President Jacob Zuma, who does not live far from where we are currently, is going to be making his way over here at around 10 o'clock. He'll then make his way into the voting hall. This is actually a school in Nkandla. He is actually based about 3 minutes away. It's a 3 minutes away drive. But in the morning when we got there, we actually saw his wife, Ntolwane, who was over here in very jovial spirits. She also voted as well. And of course, after the president's votes, he'll then be able to talk to members of the media. And basically, you know, Jacob Zuma, former President Jacob Zuma, rather, is a very, very jovial person. He will not tell us who he has voted for, but he will then say to us that we know already who he has voted for, Desiree.
Well, Mtungwa, I suppose that's a breaking story on its own, that Ntuli is in Nkandla. Thank you so much for that crossing.